Ale. Gil was able to join, but he had to join
So,
as
as
an
I was saying, my name is Alejandra de la Torre, and I manage parent engagement at district level. We are pleased that you're joining us. Our main intention at this meeting is to make sure that we communicate to you about important information that will help us as a team with parents, teachers, students, and administrators at site and district level be on the same page to benefit the student and support our parents. It becomes more and more apparent that parents are the most influential teachers in the lives of our students. And it is more evident these days because of distance learning. And so we want to make sure as a school district that we support you in that role because now your students are interacting with us via internet, via different means and different platforms. So we are going to I'm going to share my screen with you to show you the presentation that we have for you.
Ale, can you please unmute Gil? He's a participant in this meeting.
Okay, so here we are. And you know, technology is something that we have to live with these days. So we want to welcome you again and share with you that the official means of communication between the Colton Joint Unified School District and our families remains our webpage. And you can get to our webpage by different means, but mainly if you input www.colton.k12.ca.us, or you can just shorten it and use the acronym, which is CJUSD.net. When we do that, arrive at our homepage, which I'll show you in a moment. It is here, and this is the main page. We have a message from our superintendent. We have information about Chromebooks, etc. But for our purposes today, I would like to bring your attention to the top right corner of the screen. And here you see that there's a drop-down menu where it says Let's Go. Now, families at home whose primary language or whose home language is not English and you prefer this page in another language, please be aware option for you, and the languages that we may have this available to you appear on the menu when you go to the translate button. So after you do that, then you go to the button that says Let's Go. For Let's Go, the ClassLink. ClassLink is the entry point for our students when we talk about distance learning. So I'm already signed in because I'm evidently during my workday already signed in. But you may be prompted to input your student's email issued by the school district. Once the student inputs their username and their password, you have a dashboard where you are able to find and access the applications that are relevant to your student. It's important to make clarification that the applications will vary depending on your grade level, in particular for elementary, because they have access to the materials that are relevant to their curriculum and their grade level. And when we talk about secondary, in particular for high school, the applications will vary depending on what classes the student is taking and what their teachers have made available to them. The presentation. Sorry. It's important that you hear from us consistently with such a dynamic environment with our law enforcement and federal, state, county, and district leadership making decisions as to what directions we take based on where this contingency with COVID-19 takes us. So we have been sending you a number of voice messages, texts, and email. That tool or that platform we refer to as QC. And those messages come from our communications department. They come from me, and they come from your site principals. Teachers also have access to this, and thinking of the most direct means of communication is if we look at the very necessary and close interaction between parents and teachers and students, then our district issued email becomes so very important. And so it's through ClassLink that you go to that district issued email for your student. If you need the username, if you need the password for your child or for your children, if your child doesn't know it or has forgotten the access information, please reach out to the teacher, or please reach out to the site administration. Let me show you on the screen. Going back to our webpage, which is a place where you will go more and more, especially during this moment. You go to the section where we have our tabs with options. You would go to schools and then directory. The site takes you to this place where you see the map of the communities we serve. Each of those markers indicates that's a school site. And if you continue to scroll down, we to the left, the site name and the phone number. And to the right, you see that we have live links to you. That expedites the process, in particular for parents with more than one student. So you would click, and now we are, in this case, at the Mary B. Lewis Elementary homepage. So we have information that is individual to them, but in terms of communication, what is important to bring to your attention here is that we would go to the tab that says staff and then go to the directory. For parents who are not used to being so involved and actively in the moment of the back and forth, but if you realize this is a moment when we need to unlearn such behaviors. Here we have the directory, and it's in alphabetical order by last name. If you are unsure as to who you need to reach, then it's a good we had to reach out to the site leadership. We have the principal, we have the vice principal, manager listed. These three individuals at every site are key individuals for contact information. They can be your point of entry when you don't know who you really want to speak with. So go back to the list of teachers. You can see again that it's in alphabetical order. And so if you want to reach out to my RSP teacher, who is Miss Tate, then I would click here. And if you notice, the cursor changes because that's a link. And so if you click on it, it then takes you to a screen where you can directly email the teacher. Something that is important and interesting to remember when it comes to sending emails to us is that it is so helpful to add the date, even if it's already there. Add your date, introduce yourself, you are the parent of, and then express what your need is. You become, in this moment of learning, you almost become like our eyes and our ears, the eyes and ears of educators, parents, because you are the ones who are next to the child or in the same room with your child when they're learning, when they're doing work. And so you can be that person who says to the teacher, you know, my child was working on the reading assignment that you gave. I noticed this and that behavior. What would you suggest I do different, or how can I support my child? And so this can initiate that continuous collaboration. We want, of course, children to experience some degree of frustration, but not to the level that they check out from their learning opportunity and their learning experience. So if you realize that your child is experiencing extreme frustration, then it's important to reach out to the teacher and say, what can I do differently? How can we work? And how can we become a team to support my child? So that was the note about email. And every email district has that same pattern. It's our first name underscore last name and then at CJUSD.net. The presentation, we want to be sure that I'm getting a message from one of our school sites. I get those messages too. So you know, we're very actively involving you in our communications to you. An additional piece that we would like to be sure that takes place is that when we think of this moment in time, I have heard that some students have said, I still don't have access to this, I still don't have access to that. Our parents have said, initially I thought I needed a Chromebook and or that I needed only one and I have 2 or 3 students. And so those are the examples of how dynamic this moment is and how we can together make adjustments. We have heard at the first meeting, which took place last Monday on April 6th, we heard from you quite a few questions that you expressed, and we took note of every single question. What we then are doing in collaboration with our Student Services Department is that we are making a compilation of all the questions that you've had, that you have expressed to us, and we will work together to make sure that you get your responses. At this moment, it is especially important that the responses you receive and the messages you receive are consistent across the board, from K to 12. And we are sorting those questions categories. We have a general category, we have elementary, we have middle school, high school related questions. We have special education questions. We have English learner questions, and we want to be sure that those are addressed only through the proper channels. When your questions, if you have questions at this event and you input them in the chat, we will channel the questions accordingly to make sure that they are answered by the proper administrator. So I'm going back to our screen. Let me see. Give me, I'm sorry. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because that presentation is completed. It was very simple. But going back to the intention to make sure that you get responses, just bringing to you that our Educational Services Division is under Dr. Peterson's leadership as Dr. Mooney in charge of secondary. So if your question is about secondary matters, then we would channel the questions if it has to do with curriculum. We have heard there's a lot of questions from families with seniors. And I understand that Student Services has a sheet with frequently asked questions, especially for the class of 2020, etc. If we have questions from special ed families, then we would reach out to Mr. Pearson for the answers, etc. In other words, what we're trying to say is we are here to make sure that we serve you in the manner that is conducive to our students having a consistent connection with experiences that bring about learning opportunities. I believe most of our site principals are with us as attendees due to the large number of attendees. And we want to thank them because they are going above and beyond to make sure that our families have the proper tools, the proper connections, the proper means to get answers, and also sending you loving and caring messages, because this contingency has been certainly an opportunity to realize that we take a lot of things for granted. We even took the ability to give someone a hug for granted. So this certainly puts things in perspective, and I've heard messages from our families, from our students, from parents, from our site leadership teams, saying that we miss the interaction, but this is certainly a moment when the interaction in person is not one that we have the luxury of having. So I would like to ask Mr. Pinnell if you want to please speak to the Chromebook and the side, the aspect, that information and technology is having during this moment. And also Dr. Peterson, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services Division, they would like to share a message with our families.
I'll let Dr. Peterson go first, Ellie.
And I am sorry, technology doesn't seem to be on our side. I cannot hear them.
Allie, can you hear me?
Okay, Mr. Pinnell, were you saying something?
Alejandra, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, is that?
Alejandra, this is Tina Peterson. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, I can hear you now, Dr. Peterson.
Okay, just a message to the families. Just want to say we appreciate everyone's patience as we're going through all of these changes, and just please don't hesitate to contact your school site or the district office to help support your needs. We are in a phase of The initial phase of Chromebook distribution has been completed. We are in a phase of a Chromebook exchange if necessary, if for some reason your Chromebook isn't working or stops working. We sent on the website and sent out information regarding what school sites Chromebooks can be exchanged on which days. And then for any students who do not have access to the internet, they need to contact their sites. We will be providing hopefully some options, but they need to let their principals know if they do not have internet access. And so we will take a look at those lists when we get them. And I think that's it for me. Please make sure you're in touch with your teachers of your students, and please be patient as we move through this process, and hopefully all things start working smoothly, if not right now, within the next week or so.
Thank you. Mr. Pinnell?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you wanted to share with parents any insight as to what your department is doing to get us to facilitate distance learning, reassure them. I know one of the concerns has been how open are Chromebooks for our students in terms of access to appropriate or inappropriate sites. I think that's something that our families will appreciate hearing from you.
Yes, definitely. So our department.
Also, I'm sorry, Ale, real quick, can you unmute Gil, please?
Oh, I don't see Gil.
Ale, he will be in the list of attendees, and you should be able to make him a panelist.
Oh.
If you right-click on his name, you'll be able to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, our department has been busy getting Chromebooks ready for distribution. I think we finished up the majority of the distribution last week. We had some schools doing a little bit this week. We're also gearing up to handle exchanges, or if anybody's having any technical issues, we're gearing up to deal with those. As far as filtering is concerned, we have, oh, sorry, I'll turn my camera on too. Sorry about that. As far as filtering is concerned, we have multiple levels of filtering available on our Chromebooks. We have two primary tools that we're using. One of them is called GoGuardian, and that's a really great tool that we've used in the classroom, and we're using through distance learning now. That allows the teachers to have access to the Chromebooks during school hours. I believe from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Teachers are able to see what is on the student screen. We did limit it after 5 p.m. just to ensure there's no privacy there. So it helps teachers. It helps teachers help students stay on task. They can kind of create walled gardens where students are only able to do certain tasks, or they can just kind of monitor what the student is up to. So that's a great tool for us. That tool also provides a level of filtering so that we do not allow students to access inappropriate content. We also have another tool called iBoss, which is also on the Chromebooks. And that's basically an internet filter. So it's very similar to the filtering that we have while your students are at school. We've extended that filtering out to the home, just on the Chromebook devices. Well, actually, that's not true. It's when the student logs in. So if the student is on their own computer and they're using the Chrome web browser, and they have logged in with their district account, their school account, they will be filtered, even if they're on their home computer. The account that we provide the student is filtered.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I know Mr. Diaz is joining us. I was not aware. Mr. Diaz, are you able to speak? And I unmuted you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. And Mr. Diaz is our Director of Language Support Services. Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Hello, all, and I apologize. Talking about patience, we're trying to get on this call. I had some technical difficulties myself, so I'm glad that Ms. Delatorre was able to unmute me, and at least I can say hello. And again, reiterate all that's been said. We want to thank you on behalf of the district for all of the support that you're providing your child as well, and for giving us the opportunity to serve in the manner that we are. We're very excited to launch our distance learning today. As you know, for elementary, we did it for secondary last week. And the purpose of today's call was to just share with you how we're going to be communicating, how your teacher in particular will be communicating with your child, and how we will be pushing out most of our information via the Google Gmail that we've talked about today, and what we call our Q communicator, which is the mechanism we use as to where you receive text and voice message and so on, both at your personal cell and at home. So again, we want to thank you for continuing that process. Please make sure that if you do have any questions related to anything, in particular your child's instruction, that you do contact your child's teacher directly first, and that you do then contact the site directly, the principal and or the secretary. Again, they will be checking emails and picking up phone calls via the various tools that we're utilizing, because as you know, we're all working remotely. But we're here to make sure that we make your child's educational process for the next several weeks as fruitful and as relevant as possible. So again, we want to thank you for your patience, and again, we look forward to meeting with you shortly again to continue communicating with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz, and thank you, everyone. If Dr. Peterson, you have nothing to add, then we want to thank every parent who has joined us and every parent who is diligently supporting your children at home as we do our part through distance learning. We are here to serve you, and it is our actions that will help us get through this. This shall pass, and just reminding our students that this is a moment in time, and as much effort and as much heart as they put into their work, it will reflect on how much more prepared they are for the future after this contingency. This is a moment in time, so please encourage your children to continue to enjoy and engage in the activities that their teachers are assigning to them. And for you parents, we want to also remind you that we are looking to you to reach out to us, because you have become our eyes and our ears at home. You are the ones who will notice if your children are engaged or if they are frustrated in a healthy manner, or and striving to meet the tasks that their teachers are assigning, or if it's too much or too difficult, it seems too difficult, then please be certain that their teacher is aware of that, and that we together work to support your child in every way that we can, and that is beyond the academic side. It's their emotional state. It is their ability to know that our optimism at this moment is of a particular importance, because this is something that we will be sure to prevail as a community. We are here together, and we are hopeful that we can see each other soon when it's prudent, when it's wise to do it, and we will see you soon. Please know that we will be scheduling additional meetings. The content of our meetings is, of course, keeping you and your needs in mind, as well as those of your students. So thank you very much. With that, I can reassure you that we're going to look at the chat and channel any questions you may have expressed accordingly, so that the proper individuals provide you with an accurate, concise response. And please remember to stay in touch with us. We are here to serve you and your children. Thank you. Thank you.